The night sky is a perfect, beautiful lie. That is the terrifying core of the alien lens theory, a concept suggesting everything our telescopes show us is an elaborate fabrication. An intelligence far beyond our own could be feeding our instruments a false reality, hiding the true cosmos behind a veil of projected light and doctored data. By the end of this, you will possess a framework that makes sense of the universe's deepest silences and strangest glitches. We will explore how our entire search for truth in space might be trapped inside a cosmic funhouse mirror, and what that means for our place among the stars. What do you truly believe is waiting for us in the dark? This deception would operate on a scale beyond simple camouflage. The alien lens theory proposes that a civilization of unimaginable advancement, perhaps one that has mastered the energy of entire stars, could be using technology indistinguishable from magic to alter our very perception of reality. They are not hiding behind a planet or a moon. They are hiding behind the sky itself. The theory suggests that everything our telescopes see, from the twinkle of a nearby star to the faint glow of the most distant galaxy, could be a meticulously crafted projection. It is a filter placed not over our eyes but over our instruments, feeding them a consistent, believable, and utterly false dataset about the universe. Why would any intelligence do this? The reasons speculated are as profound as the act itself. Perhaps we are seen as a young, volatile species, and the true nature of the cosmos is being concealed from us until we mature, a kind of cosmic parental control. Or maybe the universe is far more crowded, dangerous, or strange than we can handle, and this curated view is a protective barrier, a quarantine for our own safety. Some thinkers, like astronomer and author David Brin, have explored similar concepts of cosmic zoning laws, while others point to the eerie silence of the universe, the Fermi Paradox, and wonder if the silence itself is the message, a sign that someone has already turned down the volume for everyone else. This is not a theory about little green men. It is a philosophical inquiry into the nature of evidence itself, asking a terrifying question: what if our entire search for truth is being conducted inside a cage we cannot even see? This unsettling idea is not entirely new to human thought. For thousands of years, our greatest philosophers have grappled with the terrifying possibility that our reality is not what it seems. The most famous metaphor comes from ancient Greece, from the mind of Plato. He described prisoners chained in a cave since birth, forced to watch shadows dance on a wall cast by a fire behind them. For those prisoners, those shadows were the entirety of reality. They had no concept of the three-dimensional objects creating the shapes, nor of the sunlit world outside the cave. Their entire existence was a convincing, persistent illusion. If one prisoner escaped and saw the true world, returning to tell the others would be futile. They would think him mad. His description of sunlight and trees would sound like nonsense compared to the solid, predictable shadow play they knew. Plato's cave is not about astronomy. It is about epistemology, the study of how we know what we know. It asks a foundational question: what if everything we perceive is merely a faint copy of a deeper truth, and we are simply not equipped to see it? Centuries later, the philosopher René Descartes took this fear to its logical extreme. In his quest for an undeniable truth, he proposed the thought experiment of an evil demon, a powerful deceiver who could fabricate his entire sensory experience. The sky, the stars, his own hands, all could be an elaborate illusion fed directly into his mind. The only thing he could not doubt was his own act of thinking. I think, therefore I am, but everything else, the entire external universe, remained suspect. These are not just academic puzzles, they are profound expressions of a primal human anxiety, the fear that our senses, our most basic tools for understanding the world, might be lying to us. The alien lens theory is simply the latest, most technologically sophisticated version of this ancient dread. We have traded the cave wall for the telescope's lens. The fire's flicker has been replaced by the photon's journey across billions of light years, and the role of the evil demon is now played by a hypothetical super-civilization with technology so advanced it can paint a false sky across the cosmos. The question has evolved from "can I trust my eyes" to "can I trust my data?" The shadows on the wall are now the perfectly calibrated signals from distant quasars and the predictable orbits of exoplanets. It is a cosmic-scale cave, and we are the prisoners marveling at the shadows of galaxies, utterly unaware of what or who might be casting them. The silence of the universe is its loudest mystery. Enrico Fermi, a physicist working in the middle of the 20th century, captured this perfectly with a simple, devastating question. If the universe is so unimaginably vast and ancient, with billions of stars and planets, where is everybody? The sheer numbers suggest that intelligent life should have arisen many times over, and some of those civilizations should have become so advanced that their presence would be as obvious to us as a city's lights from space. Yet our telescopes hear only silence. This is the Fermi Paradox, the profound contradiction between the high probability of alien life and the total lack of evidence for it. Scientists have proposed dozens of solutions, from the idea that intelligent life is incredibly rare, to the grim suggestion that all civilizations inevitably destroy themselves before they can spread. But the alien lens theory offers a different and far more unsettling answer. The silence is not a natural phenomenon, it is a policy. This is where the cosmic zoo hypothesis and the planetarium hypothesis come into play. Think of the cosmic zoo. In this idea, advanced civilizations know we are here, but they have agreed to place our planet under a kind of interstellar observation protocol. They do not contact us, just as we do not barge into a wildlife sanctuary and start talking to the gorillas. They watch, they study, and they ensure we develop without outside interference. Our entire sky, then, could be a one-way mirror. We look out, seeing only the empty, natural universe they allow us to see, while they look in unseen. The planetarium hypothesis takes this a step further into absolute control. It suggests that what we perceive as the cosmos is not just being left alone, but actively manufactured. Our telescopes are not windows, but screens. Every star map, every radio signal we think we detect from a distant nebula, every exoplanet transit we carefully log, could be part of an impossibly sophisticated simulation, a cosmic show designed to keep us pacified and looking in the wrong direction. The great silence, then, is not empty, it is curated, it is a performance. This adds a deeply sinister twist to the Fermi paradox. The reason we do not see them is not because they are dead or because they are not there. It is because they are too good at hiding. The paradox is not a puzzle to be solved by our science, but a condition of our existence, deliberately maintained by forces we cannot comprehend. The question shifts from where is everybody to what are they so carefully keeping us from seeing. Such a deception seems impossible with our current understanding of physics. Yet the very scale of its impossibility might be the point. To evaluate if a false sky could be projected, we must think not in terms of human engineering, but of cosmic engineering. The framework most often used is the Kardashev scale, which measures a civilization's technological advancement by its energy consumption. A Type 2 civilization, for instance, could harness the total energy output of its star. Imagine a structure not just for collecting that energy, but for using it. This is where the classic concept of a Dyson sphere transforms. Instead of a shell to capture sunlight, picture it as the ultimate computer server farm, a megastructure whose entire purpose is to run a simulation of a universe. The raw computational power needed to simulate every photon, every gravitational wobble of a distant exoplanet for billions of observing worlds is beyond staggering. But for a civilization that commands a star's energy, what we call impossible might simply be a large-scale engineering project. They would not need to project light to every point in space. They would only need to intercept the light heading toward developing worlds like ours and replace it with their own narrative. Think of it as a cosmic firewall filtering reality before it reaches our senses. The mechanisms could involve technologies we are only beginning to theorize. Advanced metamaterials could bend light in ways that make empty space look like a bustling nebula. Manipulating space-time itself through controlled gravitational lensing could create phantom images of stars that never existed. They could even tamper with quantum data at the source, ensuring that every particle detector and radio telescope on Earth receives a consistent, fabricated story. Recent papers in theoretical physics have seriously explored the computational limits of simulating not just worlds, but entire observable universes. The results suggest that while the energy requirements are astronomically high, they are not infinite. For a sufficiently advanced intelligence, the universe is not a mystery to be understood, but a substrate to be programmed. This moves the theory from pure philosophy into the realm of speculative science. It asks us to consider that the greatest magic trick in the cosmos would not be a flashy display of power, but a perfect, undetectable illusion. The silence we hear and the stars we see might not be evidence of absence, but the flawless signature of a presence so advanced it has become the background of existence itself. The universe is supposed to be random, a grand chaos of scattered matter and energy. Yet when we look at the oldest light in existence, we find a pattern that should not be there. This is the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, a snapshot of the infant universe. When scientists created a detailed map of this radiation, they expected to see a uniform, speckled distribution like static on an old television. Instead, they found something deeply unsettling, a strange alignment nicknamed the axis of evil. This axis describes a peculiar correlation in the data, where fluctuations in the ancient heat seem to line up with the plane of our own solar system. It is as if the universe has a preferred direction, a cosmic north that points right back at us. From a standard physics perspective, this makes no sense. Our position in the cosmos is supposed to be insignificant, yet the oldest signal we can detect appears weirdly centered on our backyard. Proponents of the alien lens theory see this not as a bizarre coincidence, but as a potential glitch in the matrix. If our reality is a projection, a fabricated sky, then the programmers might have made a subtle error. The simulation could have a built-in coordinate system, a reference frame, and the axis of evil is a faint trace of that underlying code, a seam in the cosmic backdrop where the illusion is imperfectly stitched together. It is a hint that the universe we observe has a preferred orientation, not by nature's design, but by the design of whoever crafted the view. Then there are the stars that simply do not behave. Take KIC 8462852, often called Tabby's star. This distant sun exhibited a pattern of dimming so bizarre it defied all conventional explanation. It would fade by enormous, irregular amounts, sometimes up to 22%, in ways no known swarm of comets or planets could cause. The light curves were jagged, asymmetric, and utterly unique. For a time, the most exciting explanation was that we were seeing evidence of alien megastructures, like a partially built Dyson sphere passing in front of the star. But what if the truth is even stranger? From the perspective of the lens theory, Tabby's star might represent a data anomaly, not an astronomical one. Think of a detailed video game. Sometimes a texture on a distant mountain will flicker or pop in and out of existence because of a rendering error. The object itself is not changing, the software is simply failing to display it correctly. What if the anomalous dimming of Tabby's star is a similar cosmic rendering glitch? The intelligence projecting our sky might have a minor bug in its incredibly complex model, causing the simulated light from that particular coordinate to sporadically miscalculate. We are not observing a star with mysterious objects around it. We are observing a corrupted pixel in a vast display. These anomalies, the axis of evil and the flickering star, are the cracks in the cosmic paint. They are the moments where the flawless illusion shows a hint of strain, where the data we receive conflicts with the natural laws we believe govern everything. They are not proof, but they are prompts asking us to consider a terrifying possibility that the greatest mysteries of the cosmos are not puzzles to be solved by our science, but errors to be noticed in theirs. The Drake equation is a sobering mathematical attempt to guess how many alien civilizations might exist. It multiplies factors like the rate of star formation and the fraction of planets that could support life. But one factor is far more ominous than the rest, the great filter. This is the hypothetical step, the cosmic hurdle, that prevents life from progressing to the point where it fills the galaxy. It could be a rare biological event like the jump from single cells to complex life. Or it could be something that lies ahead of us, a catastrophic wall that every technological civilization hits and fails to pass. Nuclear war, environmental collapse, or a runaway artificial intelligence are the usual suspects, but the alien lens theory offers a chilling alternative. What if the great filter is not a natural disaster or a self-inflicted wound? What if it is a policy enforced by others? The lens itself could be the filter. An older, wiser galactic community, having witnessed the destructive potential of young species, might have established a universal protocol. Any civilization that reaches a certain technological level, just as it begins to look outward with radio telescopes and dream of the stars, is quietly, seamlessly placed inside the simulation. Their sky becomes a planetarium. Their physics is fed consistent but limited data. The true nature of the cosmos, the locations of other civilizations, the pathways to interstellar travel, all are concealed behind an impenetrable veil of fabricated light. This is not a test, it is a quarantine. We are not being judged, we are being contained. The ethical implications of such an act are profound. From one perspective, it could be the ultimate act of cosmic benevolence. Imagine a universe teeming with ancient, fragile ecosystems and peaceful cultures. A newly spacefaring species driven by curiosity, competition, and resource hunger would be like a lit match in a dry forest, containing us until we prove we can overcome our own violent impulses. Could be seen as an act of galactic preservation, protecting both us from more advanced predators and the wider community from us. It is a paternalistic protection, a cosmic childhood, intended to last until we grow up. But there is a darker, more malevolent interpretation. What if the lens is not a nursery but a cage in a zoo? The deception is not for our protection, but for the convenience and amusement of the wardens. Our entire history, our struggles, our science, could be nothing more than an elaborate reality show for beings we cannot perceive. Our planet is the enclosure, and the false sky is the one-way glass. In this view, the filter is not about maturity, but about control. We are not being protected from the dangers of the galaxy. We are being prevented from ever becoming a danger or a competitor to those who already rule it. Our technological progress might be carefully monitored and subtly sabotaged. Our physics steered down dead-end paths to ensure we never stumble upon the truth or the means to escape. So which is it, a protective barrier or a prison wall? The terrifying beauty of the alien lens theory is that from inside the simulation, both scenarios look exactly the same. We would see the same silent, empty, beautifully consistent universe. The stars would shine with the same cold, distant light. The only clue to our true situation would be a deep, unsettling feeling that the cosmos is just a little too quiet, a little too perfect, and that the greatest filter we face may not be ahead of us at all, but already all around us. Our most fundamental physics is built upon a ghost. For nearly a century, scientists have known the universe does not add up. The way galaxies spin, the way they clump together, the accelerating expansion of space itself, none of it makes sense with the amount of visible matter we can see. To balance the equations to make our models of reality work, cosmologists invented two cosmic placeholders, dark matter and dark energy. Together, they are said to make up a staggering 95% of everything that exists. Yet we have never directly seen them, touched them, or detected them in any lab. They are invisible, intangible forces inferred solely because the math demands them. What if the math is lying? What if dark matter and dark energy are not real substances, but the ultimate glitch in the cosmic simulation? From the perspective of the alien lens theory, these mysterious components take on a deeply sinister character. They are not discoveries but concessions. They are the patches applied to our physics to keep it consistent within the fabricated reality. Imagine a video game programmer creating a vast, open world. To save processing power, they don't render distant mountains in full detail. Instead, they use a low-resolution texture, a placeholder that looks convincing from afar but dissolves into fuzzy pixels if you get too close. Dark matter and dark energy could be the cosmological equivalent. The intelligence running our simulation needs the universe to behave in a stable, mathematically coherent way so that our science feels real and predictable. But perhaps simulating the true, underlying mechanics of the cosmos is too computationally expensive, or worse, it would reveal truths they wish to hide. So instead, they program in simplified rules, and dark matter and dark energy are the fudge factors, the lines of code that smooth over the gaps between the simulation's limitations and our observations. Our relentless search for a dark matter particle becomes a tragic comedy. We build detectors miles underground, waiting for a whisper of interaction that will never come, because we are not hunting a particle, we are chasing a phantom, a variable in someone else's equation. The accelerating expansion driven by dark energy could be a simple programmed parameter, the simulation's clock ticking forward at a set rate, giving us the illusion of a dynamic, evolving universe while masking its true, static, or entirely different nature. This transforms the greatest mystery in modern cosmology into the strongest evidence for the deception. The fact that 95% of our universe is made of something we cannot perceive is not a puzzle to be solved, it is a design feature. It is the built-in buffer that keeps the illusion from breaking down under the scrutiny of a species that loves to calculate. Every time our telescopes show a galaxy spinning too fast and we say dark matter is holding it together, we are not uncovering a secret of nature, we are reading the user manual for a fake sky. The conspiracy is not in the stars, but in the very fabric of the equations we use to describe them. We are like characters in a story who have discovered that the author never bothered to name most of the supporting cast, simply labeling them Dark Figure 1 and Dark Figure 2 because their only role is to make the plot work. Our entire quest to understand the cosmos may be an exercise in reverse engineering of fiction, where the biggest clues are not the things we see, but the profound, echoing emptiness we are forced to invent to explain them away. But if the sky is a lie, how could we ever catch the liar? The deception, as grand as it is, might have a critical weakness. It likely focuses on the easiest signal to manipulate, light itself. Every photon from a distant star, every radio wave from a pulsar, travels as an electromagnetic ripple, a signal that a sufficiently advanced technology could intercept and replace. But what about messengers that do not play by light's rules? What about signals that are far harder to fake because they are woven into the very fabric of reality? This is where two of the most exotic tools in modern astronomy offer a potential backdoor: gravitational waves and neutrinos. Gravitational waves are not waves of light or matter. They are ripples in space-time itself, generated by the most violent events in the universe, like the collision of black holes. When two black holes spiral together and merge, they shake the cosmos, sending out a tremor that stretches and compresses the fabric of reality as it passes. Our detectors, like LIGO, are incredibly sensitive rulers that can measure distortions smaller than an atomic nucleus. Crucially, gravitational waves travel directly through everything. They are not reflected, refracted, or easily mimicked. To fake a gravitational wave signal, a deceptive intelligence would not just need to project an image, it would need to physically warp space-time in a perfectly calibrated way along the entire path to Earth. That is an exponentially more difficult trick. So, if we see a gravitational wave event from a particular patch of sky, and our optical and radio telescopes see absolutely nothing there, that is a red flag. It would be like feeling a tremendous shudder in your house while looking out the window and seeing a perfectly calm, still street. One sense is telling you a truth the other cannot perceive. Then there are the ghosts of the particle world, neutrinos. These tiny, nearly massless particles are produced in the cores of stars and in cosmic cataclysms. They are infamous for their aloofness, passing through entire planets as if they were empty space. Trillions of neutrinos from the sun stream through your body every second without a single interaction. Detecting them requires enormous subterranean experiments like IceCube at the South Pole, which uses a cubic kilometer of ancient ice as a target. Because neutrinos so rarely interact with normal matter, they travel in near-perfect straight lines from their source, unaffected by magnetic fields or interstellar dust. A fake sky would have to not only generate fake light, but also flood our detectors with fake neutrino signals that match the fake light perfectly, coordinating a deception across two entirely different realms of physics. So, have these backdoor messengers shown us anything strange? The answer is tantalizing. In 2017, astronomy made history with a multi-messenger event. Gravitational waves signaled the merger of two neutron stars. Seconds later, gamma-ray telescopes saw a flash from the same region. Optical telescopes then swiveled and found a new, bright point of light in a distant galaxy, the kilonova explosion from the collision. This perfect alignment was a triumph of standard astrophysics, but it is the mismatches, the orphans, that fuel speculation. There have been gravitational wave candidate events with no corresponding electromagnetic flash, whispers of a collision in the dark. More provocatively, high-energy neutrinos have occasionally been detected with no clear source in the optical sky. IceCube has catalogued neutrinos with energies 1,000,000 times greater than those from our Sun, and for some, we point our telescopes back along their path and see nothing. Just empty, quiet space. Of course, science has mundane explanations for these orphans. The electromagnetic light could be faint or pointed away from us. The neutrino could have come from a source too dim for our telescopes, but within the framework of the alien lens theory, these silent signals take on a new meaning. They could be leaks, a gravitational wave from a real cosmic event the simulation's visual layer failed to render. A high-energy neutrino slipping through from a true source whose light was filtered out and replaced with a false, empty starfield. They are the faint tremors of a real universe knocking on the walls of our simulated one. By building more of these exotic detectors, by listening to the groans of space-time and catching more cosmic ghosts, we are not just doing astronomy. We are attempting a cosmic jailbreak, searching for the cracks in the lens by using senses it never thought to blind. The most famous modern version of our cosmic doubt is the simulation hypothesis. Popularized by figures like Elon Musk, it suggests with chilling simplicity that our entire existence is a digital construct. The universe, Earth, your memories, the very sensation of reading these words, all of it is code running on some unfathomable computer, likely built by a post-human civilization of our own distant descendants. It is a profound and dizzying idea, but it is not the same as the alien lens theory, and the distinction between them is where true terror finds its shape. The simulation hypothesis annihilates reality. If it is true, nothing is real. The alien lens theory, by contrast, offers a more insidious and personal betrayal. It proposes that Earth is real, your life is real, the ground beneath your feet, the air in your lungs, the history of our planet, all of it is genuine. But the moment you look up, the moment you point a telescope or a radio dish at the heavens, you are no longer observing the cosmos, you are watching a broadcast. One theory says everything is a lie, the other says only the window is fake. So which is more terrifying, the absolute void of the simulation where every love and loss is a phantom script, or the selective deception of the lens where we are real creatures trapped in a fake cage, forever pressing our noses against a painted sky? Plausibility is another matter. The simulation hypothesis requires a level of computational power that defies even speculative physics, needing to simulate every quark, every thought, every raindrop on every leaf for every conscious being. The alien lens theory, while still astronomically advanced, has a narrower, more achievable goal. It does not need to simulate your morning coffee. It only needs to consistently fool our instruments to edit the incoming data stream from space. It is the difference between building an entire planet and painting a convincing backdrop on a dome. This makes the lens, in a purely technical sense, a more feasible form of deception. But here is where the theories twist together in a fascinating knot. Could the alien lens be a component within a larger simulation? Absolutely. If our universe is a simulation, then the fake sky is simply part of the rendered environment. But the reverse could also be true. What if the lens is not part of a simulation, but a physical barrier erected by a very real, very advanced civilization in a very real universe? This possibility feels more visceral, more haunting. It means there is a real out there, a genuine cosmos of wonders and dangers, and we are being deliberately, physically prevented from seeing it. We are not characters in a game. We are animals in a preserve, and the preserve's walls are made of light. The ultimate horror of the lens is not that nothing is real, but that something is. And that something does not want us to know it exists. This fear cuts deeper than any monster in the dark. The alien lens theory does not just challenge our science, it attacks the very foundation of our psyche. At its core, it weaponizes a primal human terror, the fear of being a fool. To be deceived on a cosmic scale is the ultimate humiliation, reducing all of human achievement, every telescope built and every equation solved, to the work of a child scribbling on the walls of a cell, utterly unaware of the prison. It triggers a profound loss of agency. Our entire history has been a story of reaching outward, of seeking understanding to gain control over our environment. But if the sky is a lie, then our greatest tool for understanding, our curiosity, has been turned against us. Every discovery becomes suspect, every new piece of data potentially another layer of the trap. We are not explorers, we are lab rats pressing levers in a cage, believing we are learning about the world when we are only learning the rules of our confinement. This existential dread connects directly to the anxieties of our modern age. We live in an era of deepfakes where seeing is no longer believing. We navigate digital landscapes saturated with AI-generated content and algorithmic misinformation, where truth feels increasingly slippery and subjective. The alien lens theory is the ultimate extension of this crisis of trust. It proposes that the universe itself is the original deepfake, a fabrication so perfect and persistent that it has fooled us for millennia. Our modern paranoia about curated social media feeds and manipulated news is simply a small-scale rehearsal for the ultimate betrayal, a cosmos-wide disinformation campaign. The tools may be different, but the chilling sensation is the same. A growing suspicion that you cannot trust the evidence of your own senses or the data on your own screens. History shows us this is not the first time humanity has faced such a disorienting paradigm shift. The Copernican revolution did not just move the Earth from the center of the universe, it displaced humanity from the center of creation. That was a blow to our cosmic vanity, but it was a truthful one. We learned we were not the geographic center of everything. The lens theory, however, threatens something far more intimate. It suggests we might not even be participants in reality, but spectators of a fiction. It is not a demotion in location, but a revocation of our citizenship in the genuine cosmos. The psychological impact is akin to learning that your entire life has been lived inside a theme park and the mountains on the horizon are painted plywood. The beauty remains, but its meaning evaporates, replaced by a hollow sense of betrayal. This is why the theory fascinates and horrifies in equal measure. It speaks to a deep, modern loneliness, a fear that in our quest to connect with the universe, we might find only the cold, perfect silence of a locked door, and the unsettling realization that we have been on the wrong side of it all along. For decades, we have been shouting into a cosmic canyon, listening desperately for an echo. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, has scanned the radio skies with monumental patience, sifting through endless static for a pattern, a signal, a hello. The result, so far, is a profound and unsettling quiet. But within the alien lens theory, this quiet is not an empty one. It is a managed silence. Our most ambitious effort to make contact might be operating inside a controlled environment where every signal is monitored and every possible reply is filtered before it reaches our ears. Think of it as a cosmic firewall specifically designed to keep us isolated. When we transmit a powerful message into space, an act known as messaging to extraterrestrial intelligence or METI, many scientists caution it could be dangerous, like ringing a doorbell in an unknown neighborhood. The lens theory proposes something more definitive, that our doorbell is not just risky, it is disconnected. Our most powerful radio bursts might be silently absorbed or scrambled long before they reach any real listener, and any signal that seems to come back is just part of the curated feed. This transforms SETI from a noble search into a potentially tragic exercise, like a prisoner sending letters out of a cell, unaware the warden reads everyone and writes all the replies. Consider the most famous anomaly in SETI history, the WOW signal. In August 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a 72-second burst of radio waves so powerful and perfectly aligned with the expected signature of an artificial signal that the astronomer who found it circled the data printout and wrote WOW in the margin. It came from a region near the constellation Sagittarius, and it has never been detected again, despite dozens of follow-up searches. From a conventional view, it is a tantalizing mystery, a one-off event that could have been a natural phenomenon or a fleeting whisper from the stars. But through the lens, the WOW signal takes on a more unsettling character. What if it was not a hello, but a test, or worse, a mistake? It could have been a deliberate breadcrumb, a single, perfect signal placed in the data stream to keep us looking, to validate our search and ensure we continue down a path that leads nowhere. Alternatively, it could have been a glitch, a momentary lapse in the projection where the true radio noise of the universe, a universe teeming with chatter, briefly leaked through the filter before the controls were re-established. The signal's perfect shape and its frustrating singularity make it the ideal psychological tool, a mystery just credible enough to fuel a half-century of further searching, all while hearing nothing else of consequence. This leads to the chilling core of the argument. The eerie silence from SETI might not be silence at all. Our radio telescopes are not listening to the actual cosmos, they are listening to a channel. The constant cosmic static, the background hiss of the universe, could be a manufactured product, a smooth, consistent noise designed to sound natural and contain no actionable information. Every so often, the controllers might inject an anomaly like the WOW signal or other fleeting, unconfirmed blips to prevent us from giving up entirely. It is the ultimate engagement algorithm, providing just enough intermittent reward to keep the subject hooked. Our entire science of radio astronomy, then, could be built on studying the properties of the cage. We meticulously map the static. We develop complex models for natural radio emissions from gas clouds and pulsars, and we celebrate these as discoveries about the universe. But what if we are simply cataloging the wallpaper? The sophistication of the deception is what makes it so devastating. It does not actively block our science, it redirects it. It gives us a consistent, complex, and fake reality to analyze, keeping our brightest minds occupied with solving puzzles that have no connection to the world outside. We are like master clockmakers building ever more precise timepieces while never realizing we are trapped in a room without a sun. The silence is not a sign of absence, but the signature of a presence so total, so controlling, that it has become the very medium through which we seek the truth. Our galaxy should be a carnival of the bizarre. With thousands of exoplanets now catalogued, we expected to find worlds that defied imagination, environments so alien they shattered our textbooks. Yet the data reveals something else, a strange mix of the eerily familiar and the improbably perfect. Take the phenomenon of orbital resonance. In our own solar system, it is rare. But out there, we find entire systems where planets move in lockstep, their orbits timed like precise gears in a cosmic clock. In the TRAPPIST-1 system, 7 Earth-sized worlds dance in such perfect resonance that their gravitational pulls neatly align, creating an orbital harmony of almost mathematical purity. It is beautiful, but statistically, it is also incredibly fragile and unlikely to occur so frequently by chance alone. Why do we see so many of these perfectly tuned systems? One unsettling answer is that they are easier to simulate. A predictable, resonant system requires less computational power to model and project than a chaotic, messy one. It is a clean, elegant solution for a universe that needs to run smoothly on someone else's server. Then there are the atmospheres. We are just beginning to analyze the chemical makeup of distant worlds, and already we find whispers that do not quite add up. Some planets orbiting stars utterly different from our Sun show atmospheric signatures suspiciously reminiscent of a life-friendly Earth, with hints of water vapor and oxygen in places our models say they should not be. Others present cocktails of gases that seem chemically improbable, combinations that would be unstable over cosmic timescales. It is as if the palette of possible planets has been simplified, using a limited set of plausible templates. The Kepler and TESS telescopes, our planet-hunting sentinels, might be collecting data that shows us a galaxy curated for our comprehension, a safe galaxy. A galaxy where the rules of chemistry and orbital mechanics are just varied enough to seem exciting, but never so alien that they suggest a reality beyond our current physics. This curated zoo of exoplanets keeps us fascinated but contained, always studying specimens that feel just within the edge of understanding. Consider the specific puzzle of K218b. This is a super-Earth orbiting in its star's habitable zone, and recent observations suggested its atmosphere contained both water vapor and, tantalizingly, dimethyl sulfide, a molecule on Earth produced only by life. The announcement sparked headlines about a potential biosignature, but the data was faint, the analysis fiercely debated. What if such ambiguous, thrilling signals are not mistakes but features? They are the perfect narrative device for a simulated sky, offering just enough hope to drive decades of further observation and investment, a carrot on a stick leading us deeper into the maze. Meanwhile, truly alien worlds, planets with oceans of liquid metal, skies of crushed diamonds, or structures that obey physics we cannot yet conceive, are simply edited out of the transmission. Their light is filtered before it reaches our lenses, replaced by the safer, more digestible data of a rocky world with a whiff of water. Our map of the galaxy grows more detailed every day, but it may be a map of a fictional territory, carefully drawn to keep us from wondering what lies beyond the edges of the chart. Each new, strangely perfect exoplanet is not a discovery, but a confirmation that we are still reading from the script, marveling at the depth of a painting while never questioning the wall it hangs upon. It now stares into the deepest dark with an eye more powerful than any before. The James Webb Space Telescope is humanity's greatest gamble in the search for cosmic truth. Its mission is to see the first galaxies being born, to sniff out the atmospheres of distant worlds, and to peer back so far in time it brushes the dawn of everything. But within the framework of the alien lens theory, this magnificent machine stands at a crossroads. It could be the instrument that finally pierces the veil, or it could become the ultimate tool of our own deception, delivering a false reality in such stunning, convincing detail that we never think to question it again. The key lies in its infrared vision. Unlike Hubble, which sees primarily visible light, Webb is designed to detect the heat signatures of the cosmos. This allows it to look through cosmic dust clouds and see the faint, redshifted glow of the earliest stars and galaxies. If there is a flaw in the cosmic projection, infrared might be the wavelength where it shows. Think of a masterful painting. Under normal light, it looks perfect, but under an ultraviolet or infrared lamp, you might see the artist's initial pencil sketches, the layers of varnish, the repairs and touch-ups hidden beneath the final image. Webb is our cosmic infrared lamp. It is looking at the universe's canvas in a new light, searching for the brushstrokes of the painter. So what has it found? The data is still pouring in, and the results are already deeply puzzling. Webb has observed galaxies in the very early universe that are far too massive, too mature, and too structured to exist according to our standard models of cosmic evolution. These cosmic toddlers, seen as they were just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang, look like full-grown adults. They should be messy, chaotic collections of young stars, but instead they show elegant spiral arms and stable disks. It is like finding a fully formed, articulate child in a prehistoric cradle. Cosmologists are scrambling to adjust their models, proposing faster star formation or new physics. But the lens theory whispers another possibility. What if these two perfect early galaxies are not a discovery about the real universe, but an artifact of the simulation? They could be a sign of limited rendering power at the edge of the map. When creating a vast virtual cosmos, a programmer might use simplified templates for the most distant, hardest-to-see objects. Instead of simulating the true, slow, chaotic birth of a galaxy, they might insert a more generic, mature galaxy model to save on processing resources. Webb, with its powerful vision, is seeing through the low-resolution texture and spotting the generic model underneath. The anomaly is not in the cosmos, but in the shortcuts taken to simulate it. Conversely, the theory also prepares us for the opposite, and in some ways more sinister, outcome. What if Webb finds everything exactly as predicted? What if every distant galaxy fits the models perfectly? Every exoplanet atmosphere follows chemical rules without a single bizarre outlier, and the early universe unfolds precisely as our textbooks said it would. After the surprises from Hubble and other instruments, a universe that is too clean, too obedient to our theories, could be the most suspicious result of all. It would suggest a projection that has been meticulously updated, a deception that has learned from its past mistakes. The previous anomalies, like the two massive early galaxies Hubble saw, were glitches that have now been patched in the latest version of the simulation. Webb would then be showing us the upgraded, flawless illusion. Every breathtaking image of a stellar nursery, every spectrum of a distant world, would be a masterpiece of forgery, designed to satisfy our curiosity and convince us we finally understand. So is Webb the truth teller or the deceiver? Its very power places it in a paradoxical position. To find profound anomalies is to suggest a crack in reality. But to find a perfectly coherent cosmos might be to confirm we are trapped in a story that has been polished to perfection. We are left watching this magnificent machine, hoping it finds something wonderfully, terrifyingly wrong, because in the search for a fake sky, the only thing more frightening than mystery is a universe that makes a little too much sense. The laws that govern the universe should be consistent from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy. Yet when we descend into the quantum realm, the rulebook dissolves into pure strangeness. Here, particles exist in multiple places at once. They tunnel through solid barriers, and they communicate instantaneously across vast distances through a phenomenon called entanglement. But the most unsettling quantum quirk of all is the role of the observer. In experiments like the famous double slit, a particle behaves as a spread-out wave of possibilities until it is measured, at which point it snaps into a definite location. It is as if reality itself remains in a fuzzy, unfinished state until a conscious mind or a measuring device looks at it. This is not a minor technicality, it is a foundational paradox. Why does observation force the universe to make up its mind? One radical interpretation is that the quantum world is not a description of fundamental reality, but a description of how our reality is rendered. The observer effect, then, is not a law of nature, but a limitation of the display. Think of a sophisticated video game. To save processing power, the game does not render every leaf on every distant tree in perfect detail. It only generates the high-resolution details when you, the player, turn to look at them. The rest of the forest exists as a low-probability cloud of potential, a set of instructions waiting to be executed. In this view, the quantum realm is the source code. Particles are not tiny billiard balls, they are packets of data. Their wave function is not a physical wave, it is the list of possible states the system can generate. The act of measurement is the moment the simulation is forced to commit, to render a specific outcome for the user. The famous Schrödinger's cat, both alive and dead until the box is opened, is not a physical absurdity, but a logical expression of this rendering delay. The cat is in a state of unresolved data, and opening the box is the command that compels the program to finalize the scene. This connects the microcosm directly to the cosmic lens. If the stars we see are a projected facade, then perhaps the particles we measure are the pixels of that projection. The fundamental weirdness of quantum mechanics, its probabilities, its uncertainties, its dependence on being watched, could be the telltale grain of the cosmic display, visible only when we scrutinize reality at its finest resolution. It suggests the manipulation is not just out there in the distant galaxies, but here, in every atom of our being. The universe's refusal to be pinned down until observed might be the deepest clue of all, a whisper from the quantum void that what we call reality is not a fixed stage, but an interactive performance, and we are both the audience and the trigger for the next scene. The myths of our ancestors are filled with gods descending from the stars. For decades, theories have suggested these were literal accounts of alien visitors, ancient astronauts who shaped our history. But what if that interpretation misses the deeper, more unsettling truth? Perhaps these stories are not about visitors who came down, but about a moment when humanity briefly looked up and saw the machinery behind the sky. The alien lens theory offers a radical new way to understand our oldest legends. Imagine a time before telescopes when the night sky was a direct, unfiltered experience. Early shamans, priests, and storytellers, through deep trance, ritual, or simply profound observation, might have sensed a flaw in the projection. They could have perceived not the physical craft of extraterrestrials, but the luminous, incomprehensible presence of the system administrators themselves, the beings who maintain the lens. In this light, the biblical vision of Ezekiel, with its wheels within wheels and gleaming creatures, reads less like a spacecraft description and more like a terrified human brain trying to process a glimpse of a vast geometric control interface in the heavens. The global myths of a sky father, a celestial dome, or a firmament separating the waters above from the waters below could be primitive attempts to describe the very real barrier of the simulation. These were not metaphors for weather, they were intuitions of the screen. This reframes our most mysterious ancient monuments. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza. Ancient astronaut theorists often see it as a beacon or a landing pad, but through the lens of cosmic deception, its purpose becomes even more profound. Its near-perfect alignment with celestial poles and its intricate, narrow shafts pointing to specific stars might not have been for guiding ships, but for attempting a kind of diagnostic. What if it was an ancient antenna, a colossal stone instrument built to detect inconsistencies in the stellar projection, or to send a resonant signal through the very fabric of the lens in hopes of getting a response from the controllers? The builders may have sensed the artificiality of their reality and constructed the most massive, stable object they could conceive to probe it. Similarly, sites like Stonehenge, with its precise alignments to solstices and eclipses, might represent more than calendars. They could have been early warning systems designed to monitor the sky for glitches, for a sunrise that came a second late, or a star that flickered out of sequence. The obsessive celestial focus of ancient cultures worldwide suddenly seems less like worship and more like a deep, species-wide suspicion. They were auditing the simulation long before we had a word for it. The gods in these stories were often capricious, distant, and jealous of their secrets, punishing humans who sought forbidden knowledge, like the Tower of Babel. This fits the profile of a system administrator far better than a starfaring explorer. They were not visiting to teach us engineering, they were maintaining the quarantine, ensuring the curious apes on planet Earth did not poke too hard at the edges of their reality. Our ancestors may have been the first, and perhaps the last, to see the cosmic stagehands before the curtain was permanently sealed. Their myths are not history books, but error logs from the dawn of human consciousness, warning us that the sky is a story and we are not the authors. But this entire journey forces a terrible choice upon us. If the sky is indeed a lie, should we even try to see past it? The pursuit of knowledge is the very soul of science, the engine that has lifted us from caves to the edge of the cosmos. Yet here, that noble drive collides with a primal fear. What if the truth is not a revelation but a poison? Consider the potential consequences of breaking the lens. We might discover a universe that is not just strange but actively malevolent. The true cosmos could be a battlefield of ancient, warring civilizations, a graveyard littered with the ruins of species who learned too much too soon. Our peaceful, predictable sky might be a protective buffer, and shattering it could be like a child tearing down the fence around a wildlife reserve, only to step directly into the path of a predator. The psychological impact on humanity would be catastrophic. The foundation of our identity, our place in the universe, would vanish overnight. Every philosophy, every religion, every scientific achievement would be thrown into question, not as steps toward understanding, but as reactions to a carefully crafted fiction. The resulting despair and nihilism could unravel the fabric of civilization itself. Is a comforting lie that allows us to grow and create better than a truth that destroys our will to exist. On the other hand, to accept the deception is to surrender our birthright. It is to live forever as children in a nursery, content with painted stars on the ceiling, never daring to ask what lies beyond the door. This passivity betrays the essence of what makes us human. Our curiosity, our stubborn refusal to accept limits, is what defines us. To consciously choose ignorance, even for safety, is a kind of spiritual death. It makes our entire history of exploration a tragic farce. Furthermore, the curators themselves pose a risk. If we somehow pierced their veil and they noticed, their response might not be benevolent. A civilization capable of such a grand deception would see us not as equals but as data points, or perhaps as pests. Our attempt to see the truth could be met with a simple, final solution, a reset of the simulation, or our quiet, effortless deletion from it. The search for truth then becomes the ultimate gamble, risking not just our sanity but our very existence. So where does that leave us? Do we continue to build our telescopes, our neutrino detectors, our quantum computers, knowing that each discovery might be a step toward a prison break that could doom us? Or do we turn our gaze inward, focusing on building a better world here on our very real, very fragile planet, and accept that some mysteries are not meant to be solved? This is not a scientific question. It is the oldest moral dilemma dressed in cosmic clothing. Is ignorance truly bliss when the alternative could be oblivion? The universe is under no obligation to make sense to us, but it is under a profound obligation to be consistent with itself. This is the bedrock of science, and it forms the core of the most powerful argument against the alien lens theory. Science thrives on a principle known as Occam's razor, the idea that among competing explanations, the simplest one that fits the facts is usually correct. When we apply this razor to the cosmos, the theory of a fabricated sky begins to look not just improbable, but needlessly complex. The simplest explanation is not a galaxy-spanning conspiracy of unimaginable beings. It is that our instruments are correct, but our theories are incomplete. We are not being lied to, we are simply still learning the language of the universe. History is filled with cosmic mysteries that seem to defy explanation, only to yield to patient observation and better data. Take Tabby's star, the flickering sun that sparked dreams of alien megastructures. Years of intense study have revealed a far more mundane, yet still fascinating culprit, a vast, uneven cloud of dust. The star's bizarre dimming patterns are now largely explained by this orbiting debris, possibly from a shattered moon or a swarm of comets. The anomaly did not vanish, it was understood. The same pattern holds for so many of the universe's oddities. Pulsars, those perfectly timed cosmic lighthouses, were initially nicknamed LGM for little green men because their signals were so artificial. We now know they are rapidly spinning neutron stars. The Pioneer anomaly, a tiny unexplained deceleration of distant spacecraft, was eventually traced to the subtle push of heat radiating from their own electronics. Time and again, the universe presents a puzzle, and science, through grit and curiosity, finds an answer within the laws of nature, not outside of them. Then there is the sheer, staggering scale of the proposed deception. Even for a Type 3 civilization commanding the energy of a galaxy, the logistics are mind-boggling. To maintain a consistent illusion for every developing world, they would need to monitor and manipulate the light heading toward potentially millions of planets in real time across billions of light years. They would have to perfectly simulate not just the view from Earth, but from every point in our solar system our probes have visited, and account for every instrument from a child's backyard telescope to the James Webb Space Telescope. The coordination required is beyond epic. It is a perpetual, flawless performance with no room for error across cosmic time. From an engineering standpoint, it seems far more efficient to simply hide or to ignore a primitive species like us, rather than construct an entire fictional universe for our benefit. The energy expenditure alone defies any rational motive. This points to the deepest flaw in the lens argument. It is ultimately untestable in a meaningful scientific way. Any new discovery, any anomaly, can be dismissed as part of the simulation. Any lack of anomaly can be hailed as proof the simulation is perfect. A theory that can explain everything and its opposite often ends up explaining nothing at all. It becomes a philosophical dead end, a funhouse mirror for speculation where evidence loses its power. Science progresses by making predictions that can be proven wrong. The lens theory, in its purest form, risks becoming a belief system, insulated from disproof by its own grand, flexible parameters. The true courage may not lie in suspecting a grand conspiracy, but in accepting a harder truth. The universe is genuinely, profoundly strange, and we are only at the very beginning of understanding its real rules. The silence we hear might not be a curated quiet, but the hum of a machine whose operating manual we have only just begun to decipher. Our own tools may become the key to our liberation. While the deception is ancient, the method of its detection is utterly modern, born from the very technology that defines our age. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are not just tools for analyzing data, they are new senses for perceiving reality. These algorithms excel at finding subtle, non-human patterns in vast oceans of information, the kind of patterns a cosmic illusionist would work tirelessly to erase. The next generation of sky surveys will produce a flood of data so immense it defies human comprehension. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory, for example, will image the entire visible sky every few nights for a decade, creating a movie of the cosmos with tens of billions of stars and galaxies. It will generate more raw astronomical data in its first year than the entire history of astronomy combined. No team of scientists, no matter how large, could ever hope to sift through this deluge. But an AI can. It can be trained to look for the impossible, the tiny statistical glitches that betray a constructed reality. It would search for the digital fingerprints left on the light. What might those fingerprints look like? One possibility is a repeating mathematical signature hidden within starlight itself. When we break sunlight or starlight into a spectrum, we see a barcode of dark lines, each representing an element like hydrogen or helium absorbing specific colors. These patterns should be unique to each star's composition, temperature, and age. But what if an AI, after analyzing the spectra of millions of stars across the galaxy, found a faint, repeating mathematical sequence embedded within them? Not a natural pattern, but something like a checksum error, a line of code, a consistent digital watermark present in every single spectrum, regardless of the star's type or location. It would be as if every tree in a vast forest, though different in species and size, had the same serial number carved into its bark in invisible ink. Another telltale sign could be geometric impossibilities. The universe is not a grid. Stars and galaxies are scattered in a largely random, three-dimensional foam. Yet an AI, analyzing the precise positions of billions of celestial objects, might discover alignments that violate the laws of large-scale structure. Imagine it finds that a specific set of 1,000 quasars, scattered across billions of light-years, all lie precisely on the vertices of a four-dimensional geometric shape when their positions are mapped in a certain way. This would be an arrangement with a probability of 0 in a natural universe, but a trivial one in a simulated one, where coordinate systems and rendering engines leave behind geometric artifacts. The AI would not be looking for little green men or alien spaceships. It would be hunting for the cosmic equivalent of a pixel grid, a compression artifact, or the subtle moire pattern that appears when one perfect illusion is layered over another. The discovery would not arrive with a bang, but as a quiet, chilling report from a server farm. A team of astronomers would be presented with a visualization their AI had generated, a map of the sky where certain stars or galaxies were highlighted not because they were bright or unusual, but because they shared a statistical anomaly, a ghost in the data that pointed to a single, universal source code. This would be the moment the prisoner finds a single, perfect seam in the cave wall, a seam that stretches across the entire horizon. It would not prove the theory, but it would transform it from a philosophical nightmare into the most urgent scientific mystery in history, forcing us to confront the true nature of the canvas upon which our reality is painted. The stories we tell ourselves often whisper the deepest truths we fear to speak aloud. Science fiction has been quietly exploring the terror of a fabricated reality for decades, long before astronomers began to whisper about cosmic glitches. These cultural touchstones are more than entertainment. They are a collective rehearsal, preparing our minds for the shocking possibility that the alien lens theory might be true. Consider the most personal version of this nightmare, The Truman Show. Truman Burbank lives an idyllic life in a perfect seaside town, completely unaware that his entire world is a meticulously crafted television set. His sun is a studio light, his sky is a painted dome, his friends and family are actors. The horror of the story is not in the special effects, but in the intimacy of the betrayal. Everyone he knows is in on the joke except him. This is the cosmic zoo hypothesis scaled down to a single human life, a gentle but absolute control maintained for the entertainment of unseen watchers. Truman's dawning suspicion, his testing of the edges of his world, mirrors our own scientific inquiry. When he finally sails his boat into the painted horizon and hears his fingernails scrape against the sky, it is the ultimate catharsis, a moment of terrifying liberation. His story makes the lens theory feel personal. It asks, what if our entire cosmic neighborhood is just a larger, more sophisticated sea haven, and we are all Trumans blissfully unaware of the dome? Then there are the stories that plunge us into total digital unreality. The Matrix presents a world where human bodies are farmed for energy while their minds live in a complex computer simulation of the late 20th century. The sky is a lie, history is a lie, even the sensation of a warm breeze is a data stream. This is the pure simulation hypothesis where nothing is real. Yet its cultural power comes from the visceral feeling of awakening. Taking the red pill is not about gaining knowledge, it is about rejecting a comfortable fiction for a harsh, genuine existence, no matter how brutal. Dark City adds another layer, a haunting tale where alien beings called the Strangers reset the memories and architecture of a nameless city every night, experimenting with human identity. The sun never rises unless they command it. Here, the deception is not for power or energy, but for understanding, a cruel and clinical study. These narratives train us to question the bedrock of our experience. They make the leap from a fake city to a fake cosmos feel like a small, logical step. After all, if our daily reality could be a construct, why not the stars? But perhaps the most spiritually resonant version of cosmic deception comes from literature. In Stanislaw Lem's masterpiece, Solaris, here the mystery is not a hidden screen, but a sentient planet, a vast ocean of consciousness that physically manifests the deepest, most painful memories of the scientists orbiting it. It creates phantom loved ones from their own minds, not to communicate, but as a bewildering, reflexive response. Solaris is not lying, it is reflecting, holding up a mirror to humanity's own psyche and showing us a truth we cannot bear. This is a different kind of lens, one where the universe itself is an active participant in the deception, not by hiding reality, but by showing us a distorted version of our own. It suggests a cosmos that is fundamentally incomprehensible, not because it is empty, but because it is alive in a way that transcends our understanding. The horror of Solaris is the horror of being truly known and reflected back by something utterly alien. These stories, from the intimate prison of Sea Haven to the cosmic mirror of Solaris, do more than thrill us. They serve as cultural vaccines, injecting a small dose of the idea so that our minds do not completely break if we ever encounter the real thing. They have given us a shared language of suspicion, words like the Matrix, the red pill, and the Truman delusion. When we hear a scientist talk about anomalies in the cosmic microwave background or a star that flickers impossibly, these fictional frameworks allow us to process the concept without immediate dismissal. They make the alien lens theory feel less like a fringe fantasy and more like the next chapter in a story we have already been telling ourselves for generations. The deepest fear these stories explore is not of monsters, but of solitude, the terrifying possibility that we are utterly alone inside a fabrication. Yet they also give us a strange kind of hope, because in every one of these tales, from Truman to Neo to the scientists over Solaris, someone chooses to look for the seam in the sky. That choice, the relentless human drive to see what is really there, might be the one thing no simulation can ultimately predict or contain. There is a quiet unease that sometimes walks the halls of great observatories. After the public lectures and the published papers, in the dim light of a control room or over a late coffee, astronomers have been known to share a private shudder. They speak of moments when the data feels too clean, or of a peculiar silence that seems less like emptiness and more like a held breath. The late Stephen Hawking, one of our most brilliant cosmic minds, issued stark warnings about actively seeking contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. He likened it to the mistake Native Americans made when Columbus arrived, suggesting the outcome would likely be catastrophic for us. most interpreted this as a fear of physical conquest or resource plunder. But what if his profound intuition was sensing something subtler and perhaps more permanent? What if he feared not an invasion fleet, but the confirmation that we are already inside a cage we can never leave, that making contact might simply alert the warden that the prisoner is rattling the bars? This is not about conspiracy, but about the weight of the unknown pressing on those who stare into it longest. There are whispers, never for the official record, of researchers who have seen a dataset that simply does not fit, a signal too perfect to be random, a statistical ghost in the machine that vanishes under formal scrutiny but lingers in memory. One might speak of a veteran radio astronomer who, after decades of listening to the constant hiss of the universe, confessed it sometimes sounded to him less like natural static and more like a smooth, engineered noise, a cosmic white sound designed to contain no information. Another might recount the planetary scientist who, after modeling the orbits of hundreds of exoplanet systems, felt a creeping sense that they were all variations on a theme, as if studying different models of the same car instead of discovering entirely new forms of transportation. These are not claims of evidence but admissions of atmosphere. They are the human reaction to working at the very edge of understanding, where the line between a natural mystery and an artificial one begins to blur. It is the feeling that the universe is not just mysterious but consistent in a way that feels almost narrative. This quiet whisper does not come from the fringe but from the core. It is the price of looking too long into the abyss, the moment you start to wonder if the abyss has been designed to be looked into. When a physicist of Hawking's caliber warns against shouting into the dark, it carries the gravity of someone who has truly listened to what the dark whispers back. His fear may have been that we are not alone in the void, but that we are profoundly and deliberately isolated within it. That the greatest discovery we could make is the one that reveals our search itself to be part of the experiment. The speed of light is the ultimate speed limit, a constant woven into the fabric of reality itself. But what if that constant is not a feature of the universe but a feature of our cage? Think of our galaxy not as an island in a dark sea, but as a partitioned server in a vast cosmic network. More advanced civilizations might operate on a true cosmic internet, a realm where information and perhaps even consciousness travel instantaneously, where the distances between stars are mere clicks in a shared reality. We, however, are not on that network. We are in a sandboxed environment, a firewalled segment of the cosmos designed specifically for a developing species. Our entire observable universe, with its strict light speed limit and its eerie silence, could be this sandbox. The speed of light is not a law of physics in this view. It is a rule of the simulation, a processing limit deliberately imposed to keep us contained and prevent us from accessing the wider, truer reality. It is the ultimate bandwidth cap. Imagine trying to access a high-speed global network with a dial-up modem from the 1990s. You would receive data slowly, in fragments, and vast realms of the digital world would be functionally unreachable. That is our position with light speed. It ensures that even if we aimed for the stars, the journeys would take millennia, effectively quarantining us within our local celestial neighborhood. This transforms every dream of interstellar travel. Projects to send generation ships to Alpha Centauri or to propel nanoprobes with laser sails are not pioneering steps into the galaxy. They are like lab mice running on a wheel that goes nowhere, a test of ingenuity within a closed system. The firewall explains the great silence with brutal elegance. We are not picking up radio chatter from the cosmic internet because our local network is isolated. All the signals we detect are part of the local simulation, the pre-programmed stellar noise, and the occasional tantalizing glitch like the wow signal, which might be a piece of spoofed data, a phantom ping from outside the firewall meant to keep us searching. Even the structure of our galaxy might be part of this. The vast, seemingly empty gulfs between the spiral arms, the position of our solar system in a relatively quiet suburb, all could be deliberate design elements to minimize the chance of us stumbling into a real anomaly, a real piece of unscripted cosmic data. The implications are dizzying. If the speed of light is a software rule, then the physics we hold sacred, from relativity to quantum mechanics, might simply be the consistent local laws of our sandbox, beautifully self-consistent and utterly provincial. Our entire scientific endeavor becomes the process of reverse engineering the operating system of our prison, marveling at its elegance while never suspecting there is an entire universe of code beyond the firewall. The most profound question then becomes not how we break the light barrier, but how we might find a backdoor in the code, a vulnerability in the simulation that would allow us to send not a ship, but a single, pure bit of information, a message that simply says, "We see the wall." But if the sky is a controlled broadcast, where do the flying things that do not belong come from? For decades, reports of unidentified anomalous phenomena, what we once called UFOs, were dismissed as fantasy or misidentification. Now they are a subject of official government hearings and scientific inquiry. These objects are described by credible witnesses, including military pilots, performing maneuvers that shatter our understanding of physics, instant acceleration, right-angle turns at thousands of miles per hour, trans-medium travel from space to ocean without a splash. They operate with a silence and control that feels less like technology and more like magic. Within the framework of the alien lens theory, these phenomena take on a terrifying new character. They are not visitors from another star system. They are glitches in the matrix, or perhaps the system administrators themselves, momentarily visible as they perform maintenance on our reality. Think of a vast, complex computer simulation. Even the most perfect code requires occasional updates, patches, and debugging. When the programmers need to adjust a parameter or collect data on a specific subroutine, they might send a diagnostic tool into the simulated environment. To the entities inside the simulation, that tool would appear as an object that defies all local physical laws because it is not bound by them. It is operating on a higher level of reality. A UAP performing an impossible maneuver in our skies could be exactly that, a debug probe. It might be recalibrating a sensor node in the lens, collecting atmospheric data to ensure the Earth environment simulation remains convincing, or patching a minor error in the rendering of our local spacetime. Its sudden appearance and disappearance are not about stealth, but about permissions, popping into our visible spectrum only when its task requires a brief interaction with the simulated matter of our world. This explains their elusive nature. They are not hiding from our radars, they are flickering in and out of the layers of reality we can perceive. When they are off-duty, they simply cease to render for us, existing in a background layer of the simulation we cannot access. The occasional crash, the rare instance where one seems to fall from the sky, could be a system error, a diagnostic probe that suffered a fatal glitch and was dumped into our physical domain as corrupted data, leaving behind strange metamaterial fragments that seem to defy known elemental properties. Even the varied shapes, from tic-tacs to triangles, might reflect different tools for different tasks, not different models of spacecraft from different planets. The most chilling possibility is that these are not automated probes at all, but the administrators in person. When we see a UAP, we might be catching a glimpse of the beings who maintain the lens, not as biological creatures in ships, but as conscious interfaces with the simulation itself. Their craft could be temporary avatars, vehicles they don to interact with the physical layer of our world, which to them is just another level of code. Their sudden appearances near nuclear facilities, a common thread in reports, make a sinister sense not as a warning, but as a routine check on a volatile variable in the simulation. They are ensuring the most dangerous subroutine on planet Earth, humanity's atomic arsenal, does not create an error that could crash the local server or, worse, draw attention from outside the firewall. This connection transforms UAPs from a mystery of visitation into a symptom of confinement. Every impossible twist in the sky is not evidence that someone is coming. It is evidence that someone is already here, has always been here, and is simply doing their job, maintaining the walls of the cage we call the universe. The truth may not be flying toward us from the stars, but flickering at the edge of our vision, a momentary tear in the cosmic backdrop, showing us the backstage of our own reality. Taken together, these scattered enigmas form a pattern of profound silence. The Fermi Paradox asks where everyone is. Dark matter and dark energy are the invisible scaffolding holding up a reality that does not add up. Quantum mechanics suggests the universe waits for an observer to make up its mind. UAPs flicker at the edge of perception, breaking every rule on their own. Each is a fascinating scientific puzzle. But viewed through the alien lens, they stop being separate mysteries and become interconnected symptoms of a single, staggering condition. Our universe is not empty. It is censored. The silence is not natural. It is engineered. This theory proposes a grand, unifying conspiracy of silence, a cosmic conspiracy not of malice but of management. Imagine a galaxy or a universe teeming with civilizations of unimaginable diversity. Some are ancient, having transcended physical form. Others are young and volatile, like us. To prevent chaos, to protect the fragile and the old from the dangerous and the new, a consensus was reached eons ago. A technology was deployed, not a weapon but a veil. It is a filter that operates at the level of reality itself, intercepting the raw data of the cosmos and rendering a sanitized version for developing worlds. The true universe, buzzing with FTL travel, communication, and activity, exists just beyond this filter. What we perceive is the curated feed. Suddenly, every mystery clicks into place. The Fermi Paradox is solved. They are all here, but we are on a muted channel. Dark energy and dark matter are not substances, but the mathematical fudge factors required to make the simplified simulation run smoothly. The placeholder code for processes too complex or too revealing to render. Quantum weirdness, with its observer-dependent reality, is the telltale grain of the display, the point where the rendering engine meets our measurement. And UAPs are not visitors from afar, but maintenance drones or system administrators briefly visible as they adjust the parameters of our local reality bubble. Their impossible physics a glimpse of the true laws that govern the world outside the lens. This is the ultimate cosmic irony. We gaze at the stars, believing we are searching for signs of life, when in truth, the entire sky is the sign. Its perfect consistency, its profound quiet, its obedience to a physics that always feels just one discovery away from complete understanding. This is the artifact. The lens is so flawless, so seamlessly integrated, that we mistake its output for nature itself. The greatest trick the universe ever pulled was convincing us it was empty. The truth is likely the opposite. Space is not a dark, silent sea. It is a vibrant, crowded metropolis. We are simply living in a soundproof room with a screen on the window, showing a beautiful, pre-recorded sunset, while the real city hums with life just on the other side of the glass. The question is no longer are we alone, but what magnificent, terrifying symphony are we not being allowed to hear? The journey through the alien lens theory is a descent into the deepest kind of doubt. We began with ancient shadows on a cave wall and the dread of an evil demon, philosophical fears that our senses might betray us. We watched those fears evolve, scaling up from the human mind to the entire cosmos, transforming into a hypothesis where our telescopes are not windows but screens. We followed the threads of modern mystery, from the eerie silence of SETI and the placeholder ghosts of dark matter, to the two perfect exoplanets and the quantum realm's unfinished reality. Each strange glitch, each profound silence, found a disturbing coherence under this single, staggering idea that our sky is a story told to us by unseen storytellers. The central question now echoes with a chilling clarity. Are we truly alone in a vast, empty universe, or are we surrounded, watched, and deliberately kept in the dark? One answer offers a lonely cosmos, the other offers a crowded prison. Both possibilities are terrifying in their own way, but only one steals our agency, turning our greatest quest for knowledge into a performance in a cage we cannot see. This theory, in the end, is not a claim of truth. It is a lens of its own, a tool for questioning. It forces us to scrutinize the foundations of our knowledge, to look at every perfect dataset and ask if perfection itself is the clue. It challenges us to be brave in our curiosity, to consider that the universe's greatest secret might not be hidden in the dark, but in the very light we use to search for it. So tonight, or the next clear night you have, I urge you to do one simple thing. Go outside, look up, let your eyes trace the familiar constellations, the steady glow of the planets, the faint smear of the Milky Way. But see them differently now. See them not just as points of light, but as pixels on a display, as characters in a narrative. Wonder not just what they are, but who might be writing their script. Let that feeling of profound uncertainty wash over you, not as fear, but as the purest form of wonder. Question everything, debate it, share your own thoughts and theories below. Does this idea resonate with a deep, unshakable feeling you have always had, or does it strike you as the ultimate flight of fancy? The conversation itself is the first step beyond the cave. For in the end, whether the sky is true or false, our relentless need to ask, to probe, and to seek the real story, however unsettling it may be, is the one thing that can never be simulated. It is the signal that proves we are truly, authentically here.